Hey, what's up guys? It's Austin. We've got a cool video for you guys tonight. It's going to be a 2010 MacBook Unibody refurb. That's one of the white ones. It's actually the second generation of that white solid colored MacBook. Instead of being the more squared off body, this one's a unibody and it looks really cool. So we're going to refurb it. We're going to add a SSD to it, upgrade the RAM, and we're going to upgrade it all the way to the newest version of Mac OS X. One thing that's cool about this is back in 2009, I had a MacBook very similar to this that actually broke. I was on my honeymoon and I was gonna go out to the pool and check my email, mess around on my laptop by the pool. And on the way out the door, my wife had been in the shower and the shower was leaking and we hadn't changed rooms yet for maintenance, but there was a water puddle on the floor. And as I walked through it, I tripped and I dropped my MacBook and just completely totaled it. It didn't work anymore. It was a sad day. I got that thing for graduation from high school the year before, and it was just an upsetting experience. So it's really cool to get to mess with one of these again, and it really brings back, some memories, some of the feels. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and start working on this thing, and I hope you guys enjoy. And at the end of the video, we're gonna give you guys a little sneak peek of what's coming up in the near future for us. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we've done already. This thing came with OS 10.6 on it. So in order to upgrade it all the way to the newest OS, which is Sierra, I had to do an intermediate upgrade to OS 10 Yosemite, which is what it's on right now. I probably won't show us upgrading it the rest of the way to Sierra, just because it's not really necessary for what we're doing with it. But Apple made it really simple to do software upgrades. So like I said, I had to do an intermittent upgrade because you can't upgrade 10.6 all the way to Sierra. So I had to go to Yosemite and then we're going to go to Sierra. But it was really easy. You just go to the App Store, depending on what OS you're on and depending on what kind of hardware you have, you may or may not be able to do this. But you just go to the App Store, and Apple's made all of their upgrades free to download. So I downloaded Yosemite. It did its thing. It took a while because this thing has a really slow hard drive in it. But it was really simple to do. So once I got that done, that's the point we're at right now. And from here, we're going to start cloning the hard drive. So we're going to clone it from this old spinning hard drive to a new SSD. And after we get it cloned, we're going to go ahead and upgrade the RAM while we're in there. So that's the point we're at now. And we're going to go ahead and take off and start doing that stuff. What we're going to do now is a disk speed test so we can tell the difference between now with our regular hard drive and once we put the SSD in there. So all you have to do is go to the App Store and search Blackmagic disk speed test. And that's it. It'll download and we're going to go ahead and start the test now. And right now it is writing at 90 megabytes a second, which is dreadfully slow. Now it's reading, and it's also reading 94, 91, so in the high 80s, mid 90s. So that's pretty slow. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen once we put the SSD in here, because it can't really get much worse than this. I mean, just by looking at the gauges they have here, would be like if you were in a car going 5 miles an hour. So now that we kind of have an idea what we're looking at, it's going to be really interesting to see the difference here. Now that we've done this, it's going to go ahead and keep going through and finishing, but it's pretty clear that it's going to be in the high 80s, mid 90s. But we're going to run Cinebench, and that's going to test some of our graphical performance. And then once we do that, we're going to go ahead and change everything over, add our RAM, add our new SSD, and see what's going to happen. All right, so now we're going to use Cinebench, and this and also our hard drive test, we didn't use a screen cap to do it because even with your hard drive test, it's going to affect your write speeds because it's writing that video as it's trying to tell you how fast it's writing. So, and then with this also, it's recording and using some of your graphical resources to screen cap. So it's going to affect our results. So that's why we're recording with the camera. I know it's not ideal, but it's going to give us the best, most accurate results from these tests. So I'm running OpenGL now. So it's loading. I honestly have no idea how long this is going to take. Believe it or not, this Mac has dedicated graphics. It has a NVIDIA GeForce 9400M. So maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't. This is getting close to, it's a late 2010 if I'm not mistaken. So we're getting close to 8 years old. So, all right, so we took a cut because we had the beach ball of death, but now it's recording, or now it's doing its thing. We're recording, and it's moving, but it's pretty slow. So once it's done, it'll give us a comparison, like a number that we can compare against other computers. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing fares. I mean, it's running. I can see that it's running, so, you know, maybe it'll be better than we expect. And I don't really know how, the only thing that I think would give this an advantage after we upgrade it would be the RAM, maybe. But like I said, it has dedicated graphics, so, and it's, according to this, it's running off of those dedicated graphics. So I don't know if they have any effect on how much RAM's being used, but that could be the only thing that would make this turn out better after we upgrade it. All right, so we got done with the OpenGL, and it ran at a blistering 4.92 frames a second. So now we're going to do CPU and see how it turns out. All right, so it's running now, and to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what it's doing. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I do, but it looks like it's rendering some kind of image. So once this gets done, it'll also give us some sort of number to compare against other computers, so we'll see how it does. All right, guys, so this finished up, and it got 119. And just for comparison, Chris ran his MacBook Pro, which is a mid-2014? Mid-2013. And it got 56 frames per second on the OpenGL and 506 on the CPU. So, I mean, it's night and day difference between this and a modern PC. So, we're going to go...
Also, mine has a Core i7 with 16 gigs of RAM, just in case anybody cares.
And some sort of is it NVIDIA or AMD GPU?
AMD.
It's got an AMD GPU with 2 gigs of VRAM. So just for comparison, I mean it's a lot different anyway, just because you're 5 generations newer. So we're gonna go ahead and cut and work on upgrading this thing now. All right, guys. So what we're doing now is we're cloning the hard drive. We're using a program called Carbon Copy Cloner, which is a tongue twister, but it's from a company called Bombitch, which sounds a little funny too, but that's, I guess, another story for another day. But what we're doing now is we're completely copying every file from the old hard drive to the new hard drive. This software has a free 30-day trial, so we're going to try it out. And if it ends up working, we're probably going to buy it because we may do this, refurb some more Macs in the future. But once you download the Carbon Copy Cloner, all you do is there's a source and a destination. You pick your source and destination, then you pick a schedule, which I picked run when I click clone. So that's all you had to do was source, destination, schedule. That's it. So 3 clicks and you're done. So right now we are in the process of letting it do its copy thing, and once it finishes, we're gonna crack this bad boy open, upgrade the RAM, and throw the new hard drive in it. All right, so all we're doing now is we're taking these back screws off, and inside will be the hard drive and the RAM. Be careful when you take this off because it has some snaps too, and it'll make those screws fly out. So, all right, guys, so this is actually gonna be really easy to do. It's got 2 retention clips here. We're gonna move those to the side, and it's going to have our RAM rise up here. We're gonna pull it out. And same thing with the bottom. It's just got 2 more clips, just like the top ones inside of there. And we're going to pull our RAM out and put our new RAM in. So the RAM has a notch in it, and that's how you tell which way to orientate it. That's it. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is take the hard drive out. There's 2 black screws along this kind of spongy black thing. You just loosen those and lift this out, and then the hard drive lifts out like so. Then it has a ribbon cable that you remove, like that. And then we're gonna put our new hard drive in, like that. We'll set it back down. Put our black retainer back in and screw it down, and that's it. Hey guys, you might notice that I'm wearing a different shirt. That's because it's been about 3 days. What happened is we had too much RAM for this thing to handle. As you know, the good saying goes, don't believe everything you hear on the internet. I read and did some research, and supposedly this thing's supposed to work with up to 16 gigs of RAM. Not true. 4 gigs, as much as you can do. So I had to go on Amazon and order 2 2-gig sticks of SODIMM DDR3. It's in, so now we're gonna go ahead and put this back together, run our benchmarks that we ran at the beginning, and then we're gonna download OpenEMU and see how it runs. All right guys, so we're gonna download OpenEMU now. So you're gonna go to openemu.org, and as always, we'll link it in the description. Like we said in our last video, you wanna download the experimental package, because that'll let you run PSP, is why we did it, and probably some other experimental ROM packages. So it's downloading now. And I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this download because I have it already. But once it downloads, it'll go to your downloads folder. And OpenEMU experimental zip. It's going to unzip it, and we're going to move it to our desktop. That way it's easy to find. So we're going to open up OpenEMU. So if you download something from the internet and you maybe haven't done it before, it's from an unknown source, what you need to do is right-click your application and click open this way, and then it'll give you the option to run it. So instead of just double-clicking, you right-click and then click open. So OpenEMU is up and running. We're going to follow our prompts here. So next, this is going to give us everything that it's going to install. Okay, next, and let's go. So here we are, it's ready to run. We're gonna take a quick cut. I'm gonna get some ROMs off of our hard drive, and we're gonna come back and try this thing out. What you do to add a game, like we said in our other videos, you just go to the system you want, click it, and then we're gonna do Ridge Racer, so you would just drag it and drop it in here. We've already done it to save you guys some time, because it takes a minute to do. This is an older machine. So we're gonna double click it, and we're gonna say, yes, we wanna run it. Okay. And it loaded back where we left off, which is, that's a pretty cool feature, really.
Ridge Racer.
So far it's running well.
Here we go.
Let's get into a game. And that's fine.
Proceed with above choices.
No, we don't want to save. All right, single race. I'm just gonna A right through it so we can get to this and see how it runs.
The race is just about to start.
So far it seems like it's doing pretty good, but I know from using other emulators on different stuff, once it starts doing anything that's graphically intensive, it may slow down, but this seems to be running pretty good. Yeah, this is running pretty much flawlessly. I'm not noticing any drop frames. It's not running slower than you would expect it. It is definitely playable. I'm not gonna, say that it is running exactly perfect because I can't tell. But as far as playability, it's good. I'm not good at playing it, but it's pretty good. So that seems to work. And that's about the most graphically heavy thing that we have to test it with. We'll try, I've got an N64 ROM here. we'll try it. N64 seems to give some things some trouble, so we'll see how this machine does with it. So like I said, drag and drop. All right, and it's in here now. Okay. We will try to unzip it and see what happens. And it actually looks like by dragging the file while it was still zipped in there, it locked it up. So let's do this real quick. We'll quit. Actually, we're gonna have to force quit it. So OpenEMU force quit, yep. All right, let's close this. We will unzip this on our desktop. Which, that's weird, there it goes. So now it has been unzipped, and it unzipped it right here on our desktop. So now we will reopen OpenEMU, and we will delete this because that was the one that locked it up. Move to trash. All right, and now we will drag this here. And it actually pulled the album art for this. Let's go back and see if it ever did for our PSP. It didn't. So we're going to go back to N64. Run. Oh yeah, so it's running a lot better now. Once again, we're just going to skip through this setup as fast as we can. All right. And I know Zelda's probably not the best thing to use if we're wanting to zip through it, but this game is a little more graphically intensive than some of the other stuff on the N64. It's a pretty big game. So this is a good one to test and kind of see where we're standing. And through the magic of film, we will fast forward through this. All right, so now we're at a part where it's actually running like a short movie sequence, and it's running really, really good. No drop frames, no stutters, no lag. So this thing is, I mean, it's running good. I'm not gonna do I put a NES or SNES game, one of the two, on here to test, but I mean, if it's running N64 and PSP, there's no use in showing you that it's definitely gonna run. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut here, and I'm gonna talk about some stuff we have coming up in the future, and also kind of wrap up and talk a little bit more about this machine. This computer, after the SSD and the RAM, was right at $200. The computer was like $125 plus shipping. The RAM was $10 a stick, so $20, and the SSD was $30. It was used, but there's no moving parts or anything that really can get messed up in it, so I had no issues at all with buying this used. The reason I bought this originally was because my wife needed something to take back and forth to work with her, because she didn't want to mess her MacBook Pro up. And I'm like, all right, so for $200, I could probably soup this thing back up to where she can use it for word processing. But you guys got to think, $200, you could have a really solid system to run OpenEMU and emulate some pretty decent games. And also, I mean, you have a MacBook at this point. $200, and you've got a pretty, I mean, it's not the best thing you can buy, but I mean, it'll definitely run anything word processing, HD YouTube videos, and OpenEMU. So for $200, you can be into a computer that can do all that. I see that as a win for everyone. We've got some really cool things coming up on the channel, so make sure that you subscribe and check out what we have coming. We're going to cut one more time to a little bit of a teaser for what's coming. So stay tuned. It's a really big deal, so we're going to go ahead and cut to that. And here we go. As you can see, we're doing a PC build. Like I talked about in our last video, Chris has always been a Mac guy. I've always been a Windows guy. I did a Mac video showing you about refurbing this white MacBook. And now we're building Chris a test bench. So we're both stepping out of our comfort zones, doing stuff that's a little bit different so you guys can have a really cool experience with us while we're learning in the process. So stay tuned for what's coming up. This is going to be a really cool build. I'm super excited. Chris is really excited. And just remember to keep coming back to our channel because we want to do more things like this in the future. And we can't do it without your support. So subscribe, like, share us, tell your friends about us, and we'll hopefully be here to stay.